So you want to be an oil rig worker, and on paper, it looks like the fastest ticket to financial freedom you can find without a degree. You see the advertisements, the recruitment forums, and the forums where guys boast about clearing six figures in their first year. You look at the math, you see the tax-free status in certain foreign jurisdictions, and you start calculating how quickly you can pay off those student loans or buy that house in cash. It feels like a shortcut. But here is the thing about shortcuts. They usually lead through terrain that most people are not actually prepared to walk. The primary allure is the check, but you have to look at the structure of that income to understand the trap. A typical entry-level floor hand might start at $60,000 a year, but after factoring in overtime and hazardous duty pay, often paid at 1.5 times the hourly rate, that number can balloon to $100,000 or more. However, that figure is not just salary. It is a premium paid for your complete and total absence from civilization. You are being bought out of your life for weeks at a time. The industry knows that to get people to live on a steel island in the middle of a turbulent sea, they have to pay a price that makes the sacrifice seem rational. The reality of 14 days on, 14 days off, or the more grueling 21 days on, 21 days off, is not a vacation. When you are offshore, you are not just working a job. You are living inside a high-pressure factory that never sleeps. The rhythm is relentless. You are working 12-hour shifts, but those 12 hours are followed by cleaning, mandatory maintenance meetings, and trying to recover in a room that vibrates with the perpetual hum of 10,000 horsepower diesel engines. There is no concept of a weekend, no Tuesday afternoon break, and no stepping outside for a breath of fresh air that does not smell like sulfurous diesel fumes and biting salt. Before you even step foot on a helicopter headed for the rig, you have to pay the entrance fee. This is the part that recruitment brochures conveniently downplay. You need a BOSIET certification, which stands for Basic Offshore Safety Induction and Emergency Training. This is not a weekend seminar. It is a rigorous 5-day course. It costs between $1,000 and $2,000, and you have to pay for it out of your own pocket. You have to learn how to escape a helicopter fuselage underwater in pitch-black conditions, how to fight chemical fires in confined spaces, and how to survive in the freezing North Sea for hours on end. If you fail the certification, you fail the job before it even begins. The hierarchy on a rig is as rigid as the steel it is built from. You start at the bottom as a floor hand, the person whose hands are constantly covered in drilling mud, a chemically treated slurry used to stabilize wells, and grease, doing the most physically demanding work for the lowest relative pay. Above you is the derrick hand, who manages the complex mud pumps and works high up on the monkey board, often 100 feet in the air. Then you have the driller, the person who actually controls the drill string with precision. Finally, you have the tool pusher, the manager of the entire drilling operation. It takes years to climb this ladder, and every rung is coated in a layer of grime that never truly washes off. Living conditions are defined by enforced intimacy. You occupy a tiny metal cage, usually shared with 1 or 2 other workers in bunks that feel more like coffins than beds. Due to hot bunking, a practice where the bed is never cold because someone is always occupying it, you sleep while your roommate is working, and you work while they sleep. Every personal item you own has to fit into a tiny, rust-prone locker. There is zero privacy. The mess hall, the recreation room, and the laundry are all communal. You are surrounded by the same 50 people for your entire hitch, and if you have a personality clash with someone, there is literally nowhere to hide. You are a prisoner of the infrastructure. The psychological toll of total isolation starts to set in around day 7. You become detached from the world back home. You hear stories about events on the mainland, family milestones, or news that feels like it happened on another planet. The silence when you're off shift is not peaceful. It is heavy, burdened by the weight of 1,000 miles of water. This is where the mental breakdown happens for many. You are performing high-risk tasks that require absolute, millisecond perfect focus, but your mind is thousands of kilometers away, struggling to reconcile your current existence with the reality of the life you left behind on shore, leading to a profound sense of temporal and emotional dissonance. Physical fatigue is not just a side effect. It is the primary commodity of the industry. You are hauling heavy pipe sections, operating iron roughnecks that exert thousands of newtons of force, and maintaining equipment in conditions that would stop a land-based crew in their tracks. By the end of your shift, your muscles do not just ache, they vibrate from the sheer intensity. Chronic back pain, ligament tears, and deep lacerations are not accidents. They are expected outcomes. Many workers rely on over-the-counter painkillers, often consuming them at the maximum recommended dosage, just to make it through the final 3 days of their hitch. It is a slow, grinding erosion of the body that starts the moment you touch the deck. But the biggest threat is not the labor. It is the industry volatility. The offshore sector is tied directly to the global price of crude oil, which fluctuates wildly based on geopolitical tensions and OPEC production quotas. When the price of oil drops below $60 a barrel, Companies stop drilling projects deemed unprofitable. When they stop drilling, they stop hiring, and then they start firing in massive waves. You can be the most reliable, hard-working member of the crew, but if the market shifts, your contract is terminated by the end of the week. There is no job security. You're at the mercy of global supply and demand, always one press release away from being unemployed and left to find a way back home. This volatility and the sheer pressure of the lifestyle explain the staggering washout rate. Roughly half of the new crew members quit within the first 6 months. They realize that the money is not enough to cover the loss of their social life, their long-term health, and their stability. They find that the 6-figure promise does not compensate for the fact that they are missing the best years of their personal lives. Those who stay are the ones who have somehow compartmentalized the pain, or those who simply do not have a better alternative waiting for them on the mainland. It is a filter that removes all but the most desperate or the most singularly driven individuals. Ultimately, trading your life for a paycheck is a transaction that carries hidden, high-interest rates. You might get the house, the truck, and the debt-free life, but you pay for it with 2 weeks of misery at a time, compounded over years. The offshore worker does not really own their time. They lease it to a corporation that values the extraction of oil far more than the extraction of human potential. If you can stomach the cage, the isolation, and the physical decay, you might find success. But before you sign the contract, remember that some things, your youth, your relationships, your health, are non-renewable resources, and once traded away, they can never be bought back at any price.